My wife accused me of cheating because of her best friend. I lost everything, and she believed her without doubt. But a year later, a stranger showed me screenshots where Ashley admitted she lied, and the social revenge destroyed them all. I'm 35 years old. I live in Denver, and it's been about 6 months since my divorce was officially finalized. The thing is, this wasn't a normal divorce where two people realize they don't work together anymore or whatever. No, this was something completely different. My marriage was destroyed by my ex-wife's best friend, a woman who from day one seemed like a horrible person to me. And it turns out I was completely right. What happened basically ruined my life for almost a full year, made me lose friends, in-laws that I really appreciated, and worst of all is that my wife chose to believe her instead of me. But wait, because this story has a twist I never saw coming. And honestly, even though it gives me satisfaction to tell it now, it's still painful to remember everything I lost. I met Isabella about 8 years ago at a networking event. You know, one of those boring things where everyone pretends to be interested in what you do while they're just trying to sell you something. She worked in digital marketing and I was in software development, and somehow we ended up talking at the bar because we were both avoiding this guy who was selling life insurance. The connection was immediate, like those stories you think only happen in movies. We dated for 3 years before I proposed, and during that time, everything was perfect. I mean, we had our normal fights like any couple, but nothing serious. The problem, and I should have seen it as a giant red flag, was Ashley. Ashley was Isabella's best friend since high school. One of those friendships that seem more like a toxic attachment than a healthy relationship. But whatever. Who was I to judge? When I first met her, Isabella introduced me at a group dinner with her friends, and I can honestly say that from the first moment, I didn't like her. It wasn't just that she was bossy or dramatic, it was something deeper, like she constantly needed to be the center of attention no matter the situation. That night she talked, literally for 2 hours about her job as a store manager at a mall, like making it sound like she was running a multinational corporation, and every time someone else tried to change the subject, she somehow turned it back to herself. Isabella didn't see it, obviously, because when you have 20 years of friendship with someone, you get used to their flaws, I guess. During our relationship, I tried to keep my distance from Ashley, but she was always there. If Isabella and I planned a romantic dinner, Ashley somehow ended up inviting herself. Or Isabella would tell me, "Oh, but Ashley is going through a hard time. Does it bother you if she comes?" And I always said it didn't bother me because I didn't want to be that controlling boyfriend who tells his partner who they can or can't spend time with. But the truth is, it did bother me. It bothered me a lot. Ashley had this ability to make passive-aggressive comments that sounded innocent, but clearly weren't. She'd say things like, "Oh, how nice that Isabella has someone who supports her so much. My ex never did that." Or, "Wow, Isabella, your skin looks amazing. Is it because of love or are you using some new product?" Things like that make you feel uncomfortable, but you can't say anything without sounding paranoid. When Isabella and I got engaged, I thought things would get better. Like Ashley would understand that I was now a permanent part of Isabella's life and would relax a bit. Wrong. The wedding planning became a nightmare because Ashley had opinions about absolutely everything. She didn't agree with the venue we chose, said the colors Isabella wanted were too basic, criticized the menu, literally everything. And the worst came when Isabella told me that Ashley wanted to have her own special walk down the aisle during the ceremony. I mean, not like a normal maid of honor, but like a separate entrance after the wedding party but before the bride, with her own song and everything. I told Isabella that was ridiculous and that I'd never heard of anything like that. And she told me that Ashley had said it was tradition in some cultures, which was obviously a lie. We fought about that for weeks, until Isabella finally gave in and told Ashley no. But Ashley made a whole drama about how nobody valued her and how she had been there for Isabella when nobody else was. The wedding ended up being beautiful despite all the previous drama, and Ashley managed to behave that day, although I definitely noticed she didn't look happy in any of the photos, like she was forcing smiles and would walk away when we tried to take group photos with friends. But anyway, the day was ours, and I wasn't going to let her ruin it. The first months of marriage were amazing. We had our apartment in Capitol Hill. We were both advancing in our careers. We talked about eventually buying a house and having kids. Isabella was still close to Ashley, but at least she wasn't so present in our daily life anymore, like they'd meet for lunch once a week or whatever. But I didn't have to deal with her constantly anymore. Everything changed about a year and a half ago when Ashley's boyfriend, Brandon, broke up with her. Apparently, the guy finally got tired of her personality and told her he needed space, which in breakup language basically means, I never want to see you again. Ashley obviously took it super badly and called Isabella crying in the middle of the night, saying she needed a place to stay because she couldn't be alone in her apartment. Isabella woke me up and asked if Ashley could stay with us for a few days, and I, half asleep and not thinking clearly, said yes. Those few days turned into a full month of absolute hell. Ashley basically took control of our apartment. She left her stuff everywhere, used the bathroom for hours, ate our food without replacing it, and worst of all, she constantly interrupted our time together. Isabella and I were watching a movie. Ashley would come down and start talking about Brandon and how he had ruined her life. We were cooking dinner. Ashley would appear and start crying about how she'd never find anyone else. We were literally trying to have intimacy in our own bedroom, and we could hear her outside in the living room making dramatic calls to her other friends about her breakup. I told Isabella several times that this couldn't continue like this, that Ashley needed to find her own place or at least go stay with her parents for a while. But Isabella told me she couldn't abandon her best friend when she needed her most. Finally, after 4 weeks, I exploded. Ashley had invited some of her friends to our apartment without asking. And when I got home from work, I found 5 women drinking wine in our living room, with music at full volume, and none of them even bothered to say hello to me. I told Isabella we needed to talk in private. We went to our bedroom, and I basically gave her an ultimatum, like either Ashley leaves tomorrow or I leave. Isabella got furious to me, told me I was being insensitive, and that I didn't understand how important female friendship was. I told her I understood perfectly, but that this wasn't a normal friendship, that Ashley was literally living her life through us and using her breakup as an excuse to control our house. In the end, Isabella agreed to talk to Ashley about moving out, although it was clear to me she was only doing it because I had threatened to leave. Ashley moved out 2 days later to an apartment that apparently her sister helped her get, but the atmosphere was super weird. She barely spoke to me during the process of packing her things, and when Isabella accompanied her to her new place, Ashley told her, according to what I heard later, that I had made her feel unwelcome and that clearly I had problems with strong, independent women. I mean, seriously? I just wanted my house back. I thought with Ashley gone we'd finally have peace, but it turns out things were about to get much, much worse. About 4 weeks passed without drama. Isabella was still seeing Ashley regularly, but at least she wasn't in our apartment anymore. I was working on a big project at the office. Like I'd come home tired but happy to be able to relax without having to deal with anyone's melodrama. One Friday night, Isabella told me she was going out with Ashley and some other friends to a bar in Lodo. I told her it was fine, that it seemed perfect for her to go out and have fun. I was going to stay watching a game and probably sleep early. She left around 8, and I didn't hear from her again until 1 in the morning. I got a text that said, "We need to talk now," and I thought maybe she had gotten too drunk and needed me to pick her up or something. I responded asking if she was okay and where she was, and she only answered, "I'm at Ashley's place. Come here." That seemed weird to me because it was 1 in the morning on a Friday. How urgent could it be? But anyway, I got dressed and drove to Ashley's apartment, which was like 20 minutes from our house. When I arrived, Isabella opened the door and her eyes were red from crying, and Ashley was sitting on the couch with an expression I can only describe as satisfaction disguised as concern. Isabella basically attacked me as soon as I walked in. She started yelling at me, saying, "How could you do this to me? How long have you been cheating on me? I thought you were different." I was completely confused, like I literally had no idea what she was talking about. I asked her what had happened, what I was supposed to have done, and she told me that Ashley had seen me making out with another woman outside a bar in Capitol Hill 2 nights ago. I just stood there, unable to process what I was hearing because 2 nights ago, I had been at home working until 11 at night on a presentation for a client. Isabella had even brought me Chinese food because she knew I was busy. I told her exactly that. I reminded her that she knew perfectly, well, where I had been that day, that she had literally seen me working on the computer. Isabella told me that maybe I had gone out after, that maybe I lied about working so much. I asked her to let me talk to Ashley directly, and when I approached the couch, Ashley looked at me with this fake compassion face and said she was so sorry but she knew what she had seen. That I was outside the Linger bar with a blonde woman, that we were kissing and grabbing each other, and that she had taken photos but was so in shock that she hadn't managed to focus well. How convenient, right? I tried to explain to Isabella that this was obviously a lie, that Ashley was making things up, but every time I tried to speak, Ashley interrupted with more false details about supposedly what she had seen. She said things like, "The woman had a blue dress. You were wearing the gray shirt I gave you for your birthday. You were touching her back in this way." She was so specific with the details that Isabella started believing her more and more, even though I was swearing to her that none of that had happened. I told her to check my phone, my messages, my location, whatever, but Isabella said that didn't prove anything because I could have deleted evidence. I ended up leaving Ashley's apartment that night without having resolved anything. And when I tried to get Isabella to come home with me, she said she needed space to think. She stayed at Ashley's apartment, and I drove back to our house feeling like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. During the following days, I tried to communicate with Isabella constantly. I sent her messages explaining that Ashley was lying, that this didn't make sense, that she knew me better than anyone and knew I would never do something like that. But her responses were cold and short, like I need time, or I don't know what to believe. A week after that horrible night, Isabella sent me a text saying she wanted a divorce. She didn't even tell me in person. It was a 3-line text that basically said, "I've decided I can't be with someone I can't trust. I'm going to contact a lawyer. Please don't try to change my mind." I sat on the couch reading that message over and over, like, is this really how our marriage ends? With a text based on her best friend's lies? I tried to call her, but she sent all my calls to voicemail. I wrote her entire paragraphs begging her to listen to me, to talk in person, not to make such a big decision based on Ashley's word, but nothing worked. The worst part of all this, and when I say the worst, I mean it was absolutely humiliating, was that Ashley apparently told her version of events to all our mutual friends. I started getting weird messages from people we knew, some asking me directly if it was true that I had cheated on Isabella. Others just stopped responding to my messages completely. I went to a softball game where I played on a team with some friends, and the atmosphere was super weird. Like, people greeted me, but nobody really wanted to talk to me. Melissa, a friend we'd known for years, finally told me that Ashley had been posting on social media about how her best friend had been betrayed by her husband and how men never change. Without mentioning names, obviously, but everyone knew who she was talking about. The next 2 months were the worst of my life. Isabella moved out of our apartment completely. She came when I was at work and took all her things without telling me. The divorce process officially began, and she basically left me with everything, like she didn't fight for anything because supposedly I didn't deserve anything after what I had done. I lost friends. Her family stopped talking to me. Even my own family was confused because Isabella had told them her version of the facts. I tried to explain to my mom that it was all a lie, but she told me that if Isabella was so sure, maybe there was something I wasn't even admitting to myself. That hurt incredibly. I was basically at the lowest point of my life, going to work like a robot and coming back to an empty apartment every night, when I received a message from a number I didn't know. It was from a girl named Vanessa, who apparently was Ashley's friend, or at least had been her friend. The message said, "Hey, I know this is going to sound weird, but I need to talk to you about what Ashley told your wife. I have information you need to see." Honestly, my first thought was that it was some kind of trap, like maybe Ashley had sent her to get more ammunition against me or something. I responded asking how she had gotten my number and what kind of information she had, and she said she had gotten my number through Melissa and that she had proof that Ashley had lied about everything. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my office the next day. Vanessa showed up with her laptop and looked nervous, like she was about to do something she knew was going to cause drama but felt she had to do anyway. She explained that she and Ashley had been friends since college, but that they had recently had a big fight about something unrelated. And during that fight, Ashley had admitted some things that Vanessa felt I needed to know. She opened her laptop and showed me screenshots of a text conversation between Ashley and another friend of hers. A conversation that had happened literally 2 days after Ashley supposedly saw me cheating on Isabella. in the messages, and I swear I had to read them 3 times to believe what I was seeing. Ashley admitted she had made up the whole story. She told this other friend. Literally wrote the words, "I told Isabella, I saw her husband kissing another woman. Ha ha ha, obviously it's a lie, but she believed me." Finally, that idiot is going to get out of Isabella's life, and we can go back to being like before. There were more messages where Ashley talked about how she had planned everything, how she had made sure to give enough specific details to make it sound credible, how she knew Isabella would always believe her over me because they had years of friendship. There were also messages where Ashley laughed about how easy it had been to manipulate the situation and how Isabella was so naive. I sat there reading those messages, feeling simultaneously vindicated and absolutely furious. I asked Vanessa why she was showing me this now, why she had waited 2 months, and she told me she hadn't known about the divorce until recently, that Ashley hadn't told her things had gone that far. She told me that when she found out Isabella and I were getting divorced over this, she knew she couldn't stay silent, that it was too serious. I asked her permission to take photos of the screenshots, and she said yes, that in fact, she was going to send me the images directly so I'd have them as evidence. That same night, I tried to contact Isabella. I sent her a message saying we needed to talk urgently, that I had something important to show her. She responded after several hours saying we had nothing to talk about anymore, that the divorce was in process and to please leave her alone. I responded saying I had proof that Ashley had lied about everything, that please give me the chance to show her. She eventually agreed to see me, but only in a public place. So we agreed to meet at the same Starbucks where we'd had our first date years ago, which was ironic and painful at the same time. When Isabella arrived, she looked tired and thin, like she hadn't been sleeping or eating well. She sat across from me with her arms crossed, clearly defensive. I took out my phone and showed her the screenshots without saying anything first. I let her read them herself. I watched as her expression changed from irritation to confusion, and finally to absolute horror as she read Ashley's messages, admitting she had made everything up. Her hands started shaking, and she asked me where I had gotten that, if I had somehow fabricated it. I explained about Vanessa, showed her the image metadata, gave her Vanessa's number so she could verify for herself. Isabella started crying, like that ugly crying where you can't even breathe well. She kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. How could I do this to you? How could I believe her over you?" She tried to take my hands, but I pulled them away, because honestly in that moment I felt too many things to let her touch me. I told her that she had chosen Ashley's word over our marriage of years, that she hadn't even given me the chance to properly defend myself, that she had initiated a divorce by text without even a real conversation. She kept apologizing, saying we could fix this, that she'd kick Ashley out of her life forever. I told her something I had been thinking about for weeks. I told her that the problem wasn't just that she accused me of cheating. The problem was that she had trusted me so little in what we had built together, that her friend's words were enough to destroy everything. I asked her how I was supposed to trust her again, how we were supposed to build a marriage when at the first real test she had chosen to abandon me without even hesitating. Isabella tried to argue that Ashley had been very convincing, that the details were so specific, but I reminded her that she knew where I had been that night, that she herself had seen me working, and yet she had chosen to believe an elaborate lie. I left that Starbucks feeling a strange mix of satisfaction at having been vindicated, and sadness at realizing my marriage had really ended. Isabella sent me messages for days, begging me to reconsider, saying she was willing to do whatever it took to fix things, but I had already made my decision. I told her to continue with the divorce, that she could keep whatever she wanted of our things. I just wanted to close this chapter of my life and move forward. What happened next was almost cathartic in a way. I shared the screenshots with some of our close friends, not all of them, just the ones I really cared about and who had stopped talking to me. The reactions were exactly what I expected: absolute shock and profuse apologies. Melissa called me crying, saying she felt horrible for having avoided me, that she should have known I wasn't capable of doing something like that. Other friends sent me long messages explaining why they had believed Ashley's version and how terrible they felt for not giving me the benefit of the doubt. Ashley's fall in our social circle was quick and brutal. Once people knew the truth, They basically exiled her. Nobody wanted anything to do with someone capable of lying so elaborately and destroying a marriage for such selfish reasons. Melissa told me later that Ashley had tried to justify herself, saying she had done it because she genuinely thought I wasn't good for Isabella, that she was just protecting her friend, but nobody believed her. Ashley started posting on Facebook these vague things about being a victim of lies and how people didn't know her truth, which only made her look worse. What happened to Isabella was also interesting in a way. She moved back in with her parents after our divorce was finalized, and according to what I heard through others, her mom was furious with her for having ruined her marriage based on gossip. Isabella's family had always liked me a lot. Her dad used to say, I was like the son he never had. So when they found out the truth about why we got divorced, they weren't happy with her. Isabella apparently lost her job too. Not because of anything related to this situation, but because her performance had dropped too much during all the drama, and she had to move back with her parents because she couldn't afford her own place. Melissa kept me updated on everything because she was still in contact with some people who knew Ashley, like that morbid curiosity of wanting to know what happened to the person who caused all the disaster. Ashley apparently also lost her job eventually. There was some drama at her office that was related to her lying about something to make a coworker look bad, and when her boss investigated, he found a pattern of manipulative behavior. Without a job and without friends, Ashley basically isolated herself completely. Melissa told me she saw a post from Ashley where she was begging for donations on GoFundMe because she was going through hard times, which seemed ironic to me considering she had created her own hard times. The most interesting thing, and Melissa told me this about 2 months ago, is that Isabella tried to reconcile with Ashley after everything came out. Apparently, Isabella sent Ashley a message saying that even though what she had done was wrong, she still valued their friendship and wanted to try to forgive her eventually. Ashley's response was brutal according to what they told me. Like she told Isabella that she had been too weak to keep her husband happy, that if their marriage had been so fragile then it wasn't worth saving anyway, and that Isabella had no right to judge her when she had been there for Isabella her whole life. That finally opened Isabella's eyes about who Ashley really was, but honestly it was already too late. Now, almost 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I'm in a much better place. I moved to a new apartment in a different area of Denver, got a promotion at work that keeps me busy, and I've started dating someone new. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice to have company. Isabella has contacted me a couple of times since then, once to ask how I was doing and another to apologize again, but I've kept the conversations short and polite. I don't wish her anything bad, but I can't completely forgive what happened either, you know? Last week I ran into Vanessa at a networking event, one of those weird coincidences in life. I thanked her again for having the courage to show me those messages, told her she had literally saved me from years of being seen as the villain of this story. She told me she felt good about having done the right thing, even though she had lost some friendships in the process because some people thought she had meddled where she wasn't called. I told her those didn't sound like the kind of friendships worth keeping anyway. I look back at all this, and the truth is I still can't completely believe it happened. That someone can be so manipulative and cruel as to destroy a marriage just because she was jealous of the attention her friend was giving her husband is something I still have trouble processing. And that my own wife, someone who supposedly loved me and knew me better than anyone, could so easily believe the worst of me based on her friend's words. That's something that's probably going to hurt me for a long time. But at least now I know the truth. At least the people who matter to me know the truth. And at least Ashley had to face consequences for her actions. It's not the happy ending I thought I'd have when I married Isabella years ago, but I guess it's the closure I needed to move forward with my life.